Diontae Johnson is no longer a Pittsburgh Steeler. He has been traded to the Carolina Panthers for a player and a late-round pick swap. Not the deal that Steelers fans were expecting here, but I'm going to tell you why I think that this is still a pretty decent deal for the Pittsburgh Steelers and why you should still have trust in Omar Khan to replace Diontae with a really good player or players during this NFL offseason, and why the player that they did get is going to help the Steelers defensively here moving forward. Before we get into the details and my thoughts on the Diontae Johnson trade, this is why you subscribe to the channel. Every time the Steelers make a signing, every time they make a trade, every time they make a draft pick during the NFL draft this year, we're going to have you covered with a breaking news video, breaking it all down for you guys right here on the channel, 100% free. So with this Diontae Johnson trade, it looks like they're going to have to replace him with a free agent this year. So look out for that breaking news story right here on the channel by clicking that subscribe button. So here is the trade itself here. The Steelers get Donte Jackson, cornerback, pressman corner, and a 6th-round pick, number 160 or 78, in exchange for Diontae Johnson, and they give the Panthers their 7th-round pick this year, number 240. And there's a lot of Steelers fans out there that are upset with this compensation because they were expecting at least a day 2 draft pick in exchange for Diontae Johnson, or at least a high-caliber starter like a L'Jarius Sneed. And they're definitely upset about this because of the compensation, what the expectations were. But I think when you look at this kind of realistically and what the Steelers were going to get for Diontae Johnson, I do think that this is a move that will help the Steelers moving forward. And let's just be honest, guys. Diontae Johnson, really good wide receiver. I think that for what he is, he's really good, and he's going to help Bryce Young there in Carolina. He's a great route runner. I think that he's a really good player for that organization because he brings experience and he brings talent, and he's only 27 years old. But that relationship between Diontae and the Steelers had begun to get a bit rocky during the Kenny Pickett era in Pittsburgh. Now it's the Russell Wilson era, so maybe you thought maybe they could mend that relationship. Doesn't look like that's the case. And also, I think the biggest reason why Diontae Johnson is no longer a Pittsburgh Steeler is because I don't think he's a fit anymore. We said this the day Arthur Smith got hired. Diontae Johnson's not a fit here because Arthur Smith likes to have his wide receivers be run blocking. He likes to have all 11 people on the field be able to do everything, to block, to run routes, to run the football, and that's just not Diontae Johnson's game, and that's why he is gone. Over the past 4 seasons, Diontae's been an extremely productive receiver. No touchdowns in 2022, one of the weirdest anomalies for somebody that's as good as he is. Had 5 touchdowns last year in 14 games played, and before that, when he was with Big Ben, he had 8 touchdowns and 7 touchdowns respectively. It's been only 1 season, though, over 1,000 yards receiving. So I think that the Carolina Panthers are getting a really freaking good wide receiver. And we'll talk about Donte Jackson later in the show, but I think that the guy the Steelers ended up getting is going to be a good fit for this defense. And I think the Steelers do have a plan at the wide receiver to replace Diontae Johnson in the coming days, weeks, and months of the offseason. Now, let me know down there in the comments section, what is your one-word reaction to this trade? Let me know down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time, but let me know your one-word reaction. So my one-word reaction here, guys, plain and simply, it's a little bit underwhelming. And let's just be honest here. Steelers fans were really hoping for like a day 2 pick, either round 2 or round 3 in exchange for Diontae Johnson, or they wanted to get a guy in L'Jarius Sneed who would have been a really great option to put on the other side of Joey Porter Jr. And I think because the expectations got so high when it came to Diontae, this feels underwhelming. But at the end of the day, I do think that this move will help the Pittsburgh Steelers in the long run. And really, the big question I have for Omar Khan is, was this really the best offer on the table for Diontae Johnson? Because if that's the case, the NFL does not view Diontae in a very positive light. I mean, getting just a decent number 2 corner here in Donte Jackson, and then just a pick swap late in the game in the 2024 NFL draft, not getting any valuable draft capital back. You're not getting a high-end starter like a L'Jarius Sneed would have been. But honestly, guys, I think that probably trade discussions with Kansas City probably fizzled out and then also paying L'Jarius Sneed his contract because he just got franchise tag, $20 million for a number 2 corner, essentially. That's a lot of dough, and I think the Steelers want to use that money elsewhere. And also, another thing to keep in mind here with Donte Jackson and Diontae Johnson in this trade here is that they pretty much have the same cap hit, so the Steelers really don't take on or save any kind of cap space this year. It's pretty much like a straight swap. Your wide receiver 2 for your number 2 cornerback, and, they cancel out. So I think, it's not exactly, 1 for 1, but it's pretty darn close. I think Donte's might actually be just a slight bit more. I could be wrong on that, though, but pretty much the Steelers get to swap out their number 2 receiver that's no longer a fit for this offense for a number 2 corner in Donte Jackson, who's a really good press man corner, essentially for the same price, and is a fit for this defense that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be deploying. And it's not like the Steelers needed a number 1 corner on their defense. They already have one in Joey Porter Jr. Donte Jackson is somebody that is really, really good in press coverage. That's what he does well, and he's going to find a home here in Pittsburgh for sure. It wouldn't even surprise me if the Steelers end up giving him some sort of extension here because I think he's that good of a fit. The Steelers are obviously trying to become more of a press man defense here. They've been playing a lot more off coverage in years past because they haven't had the high-level cornerback play, but they're trying to start to get some of these guys that are more press man type corners. Donte Jackson fits that bill. He's going to be physical. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to be in your face, and it's very, very obvious to me that Mike Tomlin wants to be an extremely aggressive defense in 2024. And with Joey Porter Jr. on the other side taking on the number 1 receiver, I feel confident in Donte Jackson's ability to take on the number 2 threat on the outside. So pretty much what you do is that what happens is that you have a good CB2 coming in, replacing a guy that was your wide receiver 2 to George Pickens that was no longer a fit. And really, when it comes to the wide receiver position now, I think that you have the cornerback situation figured out. Obviously, you probably still need to sign a nickel corner in NFL free agency or get one via the draft. But from the wide receiver perspective here, they need to get to work. They need to replace Diontae Johnson because you have Russell Wilson coming in, and right now you have a good receiving tight end in Pat Freiermuth, and you have a legitimate number 1 deep threat down the boundary there in George Pickens. Now you got to fill out the number 2 wide receiver spot and the slot wide receiver spot. So look out for the Steelers to fill out one of those needs in free agency and then potentially the other one in the NFL draft within the first 2 or 3 rounds. The Pittsburgh Steelers met with a ton of high-round wide receiver prospects at the NFL draft. Formal meetings, guys like Roma Dunze, Keon Coleman, Jalen McMillan, all these guys that are projected to go pretty darn high in the NFL draft this year. Adonai Mitchell, another one out of Texas who would be a great fit for that number 2 spot here in Pittsburgh. So it's obvious that the Steelers feel like the wide receivers in this draft are special. They probably feel like they can get a steal of one in the 2nd round this year, and they feel like getting that rookie in here on a rookie contract is better for them, and bringing in a really good number 2 corner in Donte Jackson is better than keeping Diontae Johnson on the roster. It seemed like he was going to hold out or at least hold in at NFL or during training camp this year because he wanted a new contract. I don't think the Steelers wanted to give him that new contract, so this move seemed likely, and it seemed likely here during NFL free agency. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Grade the trade. I can't expect to see too many A's or even like high B grades here because I know this is probably underwhelming for a lot of you guys out there, but let me know, A, B, C, D, or F down there in the comment section. And for me personally, I'm going to give it a B-. All right, it's a little bit underwhelming because, I would have loved a L'Jarius Sneed, or I would have loved a round 2 draft pick in exchange for Diontae Johnson, but sometimes that isn't the case in the National Football League, guys. Diontae Johnson's a good player, but so is Donte Jackson. He is a great fit in this defense, and I think that the combination between him and Joey Porter Jr. is going to be a really good combo for the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward. And I think Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin, they have a really good plan as to how they're going to address the wide receiver position moving forward. And I think that it's going to be probably Tyler Boyd or something like that in free agency, and then they're going to get somebody at wide receiver in the NFL draft probably by the end of round 2, and I think it's going to be just fine for the first year here in the Russell Wilson era. That's going to be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by today. It's been a very exciting day in Steelers Nation, signing Patrick Queen to an awesome deal. We had a great time on Steelers Talk Live today. We're going live again tomorrow, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now. Turn on your notifications so you never miss any of our breaking news coverage right here for free on YouTube.